All right, I'm just shy of 7:30, so I'll wait another minute to give people a chance to read the articles in the warrant. Then we'll call the meeting to order.
I'll share with David.
What are you doing?
I'm just gonna share with you on the one articles.
No.
No?
No.
All yours?
None of that stuff.
There's no more left. Oh, you got an extra?
No.
Thank you.
I have a sentence that's wrong.
I have an extra. Oh, we got a couple extra. You got one?
I'll just say it when we come up.
Let's switch.
This
This is the one, this is my.
Somebody else commits it, just yell out there.
All right, it's 7:30. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. I mean. 7:30, unusual, usually it's 7. I'll take attendance. Thank you, Ellie. Nate,
Here.
Ellie. John,
Here.
Steve,
Here.
Cindy's absent. He notified me. Mike,
Here.
Dennis,
Present.
Sadie,
Here.
Karen. And I'm here, so we're missing only one. That's good, thank you. We'll. We'll go ahead and want to do the minutes from the last meeting. Everybody okay with it? I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes as written. Okay, anybody else? Dennis seconded. Any questions, corrections? All right, all those in favor of the minutes as written, say aye.
Right.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Ellie abstained. Oh, my God. Oh, Ellie.
You're the secretary.
Oh, my God. It has been a while, so, now we'll move on to what's on the agenda tonight. And we're looking at the articles in the warrant that pertain to money.
May I ask one question?
Sure,
How many committee members are there? Just
10.
like- Yeah, okay,
and 9 of them are here.
9 here, okay, 9 present.
What? Yeah, okay.
Right.
And the articles in the warrant, have to pertain to money for us to vote. We'll go ahead, Ned is here, he'll explain anything that you don't understand. Most of them have an explanation with them. That explains what the article is. If you don't understand it totally, please stop me and we'll get a better explanation. All right, we'll go ahead with Article 2. General fund appropriation. Do you want me to read it, every one of them? Committee? Okay, I gotta know.
Did a phone get left here? I was sitting right here. No,
No.
okay, not on the floor in that chair.
I don't feel anything.
Near.
What's the number? Have somebody call it.
Well, it's on silent. Because I was in a meeting. So that's not going pretty good. I apologize for interrupting.
No
Thank
problem
you.
at all. We're going to not read each one of the articles. If everybody's got a copy of this.
And we have somebody
I
online.
don't have to
so-
read them, Ellie.
we have
You
somebody
knew that.
online.
It's up to the committee.
Dave, we got somebody online. We should read them, please.
All right, we can read them.
Can we put a visual of it up there so that they can read it online? We don't have.
That's gonna save a lot of time if we could.
Do we have a share screen that we can do?
I can't do overhead.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, it was worth an ask.
How about The old fashioned way. Will that work?
Oh, not really, no. Good try. Anything else? Missing a copy. Secretary.
Article 2, general fund appropriation. Shall the town of Canaan raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles, other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with a warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session, for the purpose of set forth therein totaling $4,636,050.79. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $4,301,197, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required. Previous action of the town by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in the accordance of RSA 40:13 X and XV1 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. So, anybody have any questions? Ellie?
Yeah, do you have to spell that out in words as well as numbers?
I don't.
But so that's like,
I don't.
It not, I can look in the list. Why don't we follow what the last?
That doesn't mean it's right. We're not the school.
Yeah.
I don't want to be smart, Alecky.
And not last year's does not.
Well, I mean, we've got a lot to read here tonight.
Everybody has a copy now, so you don't need to read each one.
I don't need to read each one,
No, everybody has a copy.
but what we're doing is reading because,
Cheryl,
Carol, okay.
okay,
Cheryl, do you have a copy? Would she have a copy?
probably not.
Unless Ellie gave her a copy from earlier now.
Can you ask Cheryl if she has a copy? Because that would save us a lot of time tonight.
Cheryl, do you have a copy?
She's muted.
Is she on mute? Yes, Cheryl, you muted. Cheryl, do you wish us to read each article? No, it's okay. It's in the chat.
Oh, it's in the chat.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
And the number.
Yeah.
Water and sewer, 339,000.
All right, so the number we're voting on is 4,336,50.79. Dennis. 636.
You said 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, 636.50.79. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ellie, Dennis, 2
Okay.
abstentions? All right, Article 3, water and sewer, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $248,186.66 for water and sewer operations of the town of Canaan, with $139,202.83 to be raised and appropriated for water, and $108,983.83 to be raised and appropriated for sewer. These funds are raised by the water and sewer users fee with no amount from property taxes. Any questions? Once again, the number is $248,186.66. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ellie,
Say 1.
1.
I said yes.
You vote against it last night?
As a selectman, I voted against it, yeah.
Okay.
Abstentions? All right, we've got the numbers. You got it, Roger?
8-1 is what I got.
Okay. Article 4, authorize improvements for water system. To see if the town will vote to accept grants and appropriate funds in the sum of $2,100,000 gross budget for the construction and installation of the following projects. Replacement of 38 lead water services lines for $830,000. Number 2, extension of the water main from the water plant to the water tank via Blaine Road, $440,000. Improve the pressure zone to homes on the upper section of Canaan Street, $170,000. Replace the cast iron service line and lead joints from Williamsfield to Highland Avenue, $280,000. Replacement of cast iron service line with lead joints from School Street to Depot Street, $380,000. All payments related to the proposed projects shall be paid through user fee generated from the users of the Canaan water and sewer system. Payments for construction of the proposed improvements shall not be paid for by property taxes, but shall be paid by previously approved bond, note proceeds, retained water and sewer revenues, and various grants and construction, for the construction of these projects. This construction may be completed in phases, provided there is sufficient appropriated funding then available to complete the phases. All those in favor say aye. Yes, yes, sure.
I'm sorry, I'm not on the committee, can I ask? a
Oh
question?
my gosh, you learn.
That's all right.
All right. Go ahead, Charles.
Was this article on the warrant last year?
I think it was.
Yes and no.
It was a different
Yeah,
form of this.
Yeah. This is a,
Okay.
this is a continuation of that. It is not a new $2 million thing. It's a continuation of the $550,000 approximately bond we took out. Our attorney, along with the federal government, because we're getting fees of 1.4 million or so from earmark from Dean's office. Felt that it was best that we continue it so that we can accept the grant money and continue forward along with the other stuff. They also felt that it would be better to break it down and have the little pieces in there, describing each little piece.
So as a continuation, does it mean it's additional money or does it include last year's money and some additional left?
Includes last year's, the leftover from last year,
Last year, left over.
which is, there's some leftover, I forget the exact amount, plus the 1.4 million, plus the match to that 1.4 million, plus some additional funds on top of that.
Karen,
It was there, yeah.
Grants for this, are the grants all in order and everything? Yeah.
They are in order and ready to go.
Is the amount that was left over substantial or?
I-
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I would say it was just under 200,000,
All right.
something like that.
Okay, I'm set. Thank you very much. The reason I asked the question is if the money was approved last year. And if for some technicalities, we were gonna ask again. I was concerned there might be a risk that the voters who said yes last year might say no this year.
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, well, I think anything with a bond is non-lapsing anyway.
It wasn't in the minutes of last year,
No, it was here.
You're 21, yeah.
It was Article-
21.
it was Article 2.
I didn't bring that.
Okay, so it's that small amount left over. The majority of this is new money to be approved.
Yes.
I'm satisfied. Thank you.
okay. Any other questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ellie? Abstentions? All right, we're running like turtles now. Article 5, purchase a police cruiser. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the total sum of $45,000 for the purchase of a four-wheel drive police vehicle to replace the 2015 Ford Explorer Interceptor. And further, of this total, to authorize the withdrawal of up to $45,000 from the police cruiser capital fund, reserve fund, with no additional amount to be raised by taxation. Any trade-in value proceeds from the sale of the old cruisers shall be applied to reduce the purchase price to be within the $45,000. Questions? Karen,
In the general budget, are there any items that they're asking for some of this stuff in the general budget that's showing up also in the warrant article?
There was prior to last night, those all have been eliminated, yes.
So,
So like the outfitting, there was a $15,000 article for outfitting cars. That's in the general fund. That in the,
but it's in this article as well.
no, it is not. It's just the vehicle.
Can you change it from what you handed out last night?
Yes, it is different from last night. That article has been deleted.
Oh, okay. That item has been, oh, right, I know that. Okay, so the $15,000 that shows up in what I took home last night is not in what we're talking about today.
no, it's not here. Bill,
I guess that makes me concerned because that's not what the replacement value is. Everybody's gonna read this and think they're replacing a cruiser for 45,000. They're not.
So the outfitting cost is part of the general fund.
Yeah, but that's not part, I understand that's how you have it, but that's not what the public sees. They see 45,000 to replace it.
Yeah, it doesn't say
That's,
anything.
that's,
Oh, what-
that's telling somebody that they're buying something for something that they're not.
it doesn't say anything about that.
Otherwise, we put the cruiser in the general fund. It's not any different. The equipment gets replaced.
Yeah, because there's a capital fund, there is a capital fund for the cruiser, not for the equipment.
Not for the equipment.
So we put the equipment outfitting charges in the general fund. We can't capitalize those.
And some of it carries over
Well,
from the executive.
not much.
There's not much, there
There's
is.
not much that they can move over because of the age of it, Sadie. So there's very little, I mean, I'd like to think that you can just take all the radio and lights and everything and put it on the new one. Just because of the age of them. It doesn't make sense. Ellie, no, it never has been.
And you wouldn't assume that with an ambulance, why would you assume it with a cruiser? You wouldn't assume that.
Well, if you don't into the equipment, it's like you buy a car and
Anytime I replace a vehicle, it's all inclusive. It's not
you know,
just the truck that I'm replacing.
you get tires, you know.
When you plow on it, that's all part of the replacement.
Right, if you buy a plow truck for the highway, you include the plow,
Not, no, we don't.
or you don't.
We do not. That gets, that's secondary.
I don't care, I just don't want to pay for it.
And if you think of it as your personal vehicle, when you buy a car, there are, I'll call them accessories or attachments, whatever you want to say, they're listed. And those are additional charges above and beyond the base car. We're buying a base car.
But you don't get a loan for just the base price.
No, you get a loan that includes all the accessories. Our payment of that are in two different pots of money. That's, like once you're buying, let's just say you're paying for the accessories with a check to the dealership, whereas you're financing the car with GMAC. It's two different pots of money. It's the same.
I understand that's how we do it, and we may need to replace it, but to me, this isn't disingenuous.
It's a little deceptive.
Yeah, it is.
Very deceptive.
Yeah, but it's been that way since I can remember.
I mean, I remember us talking about it being to exclude vehicles and equipment.
Ellie,
So just to sort of go through it philosophically, if we sell the vehicle, trade it in, and that equipment isn't any good anymore, what do we do with it? Does it go with the cruiser? Does that become part of the trade-in value, or is it just dealt, we throw it away, or do we go to Ossipee Mountain and swap it for the new stuff?
So some is sold separately, some is traded in, and some is just plain thrown away.
Okay. Isn't that all compared to the other one? This is only a 2015.
Yeah, and it's for cruisers, that's
7 years.
that's substantially older.
Okay.
say,
So,
I think the difference is that a vehicle qualifies as a capital expenditure,
Right.
and there are capital reserve accounts for those. And a capital expenditure is anything that has wheels, costs over
Doesn't have to have wheels.
$5,000.
Yes,
Doesn't have to
And-
have wheels.
You know, it doesn't have to, but things that have wheels are in the capital improvement plan. And lasts over 5 years, what's the other thing, Clive?
Like $5,000.
So we,
Over $5,000 in 11.
so that money goes into capital reserve accounts, so we have to have a warrant article to pull the funding out of.
Right.
But the other stuff is built into the general fund.
And they're not approving the purchase of the vehicle, they're part of the full vehicle, they're approving, they're approving the ability to take that out of capital reserve, right?
So, I guess the other thing is. Just a quick thing on the 45,000 is not really the purchase price of the vehicle.
Is this the purchase price of the vehicle?
The trade-in is going to keep it
Could
down.
offset, could
Right,
offset.
it could be,
Would offset some money.
it could be 50,000 with everything on it, but trading in the vehicle brings it down. It doesn't go any higher than 45.
Right.
They capped it at 45. That makes sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but. That still goes back to not telling them what it really costs by the purchase of it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. But unfortunately, that's the way it's done.
Yeah, we have to hold on to it, certain, we can't change it. You can change the derivative section for it.
So you can't, because some of it's dictated by DRA.
Yeah,
What you're voting on right here, what the warrant is saying is we're taking $45,000 out of the capital reserve fund to purchase a police cruiser.
Up to 45, not more.
Up to-
Right, up to 45, no more than.
45 or less.
Yeah. Yeah.
No deception on the price of the.
Ellie,
Now, what happens like this last year, because not enough insurance applications. So there isn't right now. Or there won't be, when we go to the other person. Yeah, well, that's very deceptive, because we were short $16,000 from last year, and it's coming out of the general fund, and it doesn't mention anything in here about what happens when there's not enough in the account, and there's not gonna be enough in the account.
Oh, that's a good point. How can you vote to withdraw money you don't
It's
have?
deceptive, very deceptive.
well, right now it's in there.
It is in there?
yeah.
Okay.
The CIP.
So what are you
comes up
talking
with a
about,
balance.
But everyone's saying that there is.
You by any chance have the capital reserve?
I just-
I can check that, give me a second.
Okay,
It's how much in there, Ellie? So there's $45,000.
Well, yeah, we put in 76, I know that one. Yeah, but I don't know if the 60, if any, what's come out. But there can't be any more than 60 unless there's a lot of interest.
She's referring to the reserve used to be 38,000.
And so according to this year's capital plan, there is almost $37,000. I'm sorry. There's 1,800 left over from last year in the fund, which isn't a lot. 37,000 of almost to be added. So that brings us to almost 40. But Ellie is accurate in saying it's not quite enough if we need as much as 45,000. And the capital plan did show some trade in 3,500, but it showed 3,000 possibly needing to come from the general fund. That depends on the actual purchase price, number one. And it depends on how much trade-in we get, number two. But it did show that we might need to take some additional money from the general fund besides what's authorized by the voters to pull from capital reserve.
And that's not in the articles. And I think that's misleading. Because people think that all the money is coming from capital reserve, which is why I used to vote for the warrant articles, and I don't anymore.
So how much is, Claude, can you repeat
So,
how much is in the
yeah, I'll
capital?
repeat that. According to the plan that was published last month.
Yeah.
Prior capital reserve balance is 1,833. We are planning to add, actually, this different word article in here, 37,000, we rounded it up. So we're gonna add 37,000. So to the capital reserve. And those two amounts will be available. we estimated a trade-in $3,500. Again, that's an estimate, guys, depends on the condition of vehicle and the market and all that at the time, right? So, and the estimated purchase price was 45,000. Agreed, not including the electronics, I read that, but this was based on buying the vehicle itself from the vehicle dealer. By the way, I presume we buy the electronics elsewhere and get them installed elsewhere, or does the dealer
Yes,
do that?
essentially, yes.
So we buy the vehicle from a vehicle dealer, then we go somewhere and have electronics installed, right?
Correct.
So, all right, anyway, so let's say we did need 45,000. Then that says we would come up short about $3,000.
And on the CIP, it says from general.
And then CIP, it says we would have to get that from the general fund. Now, the point is, maybe the warrant article should say that. Maybe the warrant article should say that capital reserve fund,
We'll withdraw $38,800.
42,000, oh, no, I'm sorry, 38,300 from that.
No, 38,800. Because we don't know what the trade is gonna be.
Correct.
What's
And-
actually in the CI, in the capital fund is $38,800.
Right, and we may have to supplement that with an amount from the general fund to complete the project.
Right.
So,
That's her point, I think, maybe the language in the article should say that, I think to the committee.
You, go ahead.
So what I'm hearing is you're assuming that you're gonna get that 37,000 on the couple articles down the road here too. So that's a lot of assumptions that are going on.
If you don't get that, then you don't get the.
Yeah, you don't get
Well,
it.
that should be written into that warrant article for that cruise.
That's true, every capital warrant.
That needs to feed into that.
That money goes in there.
That,
Right.
It goes out.
That would be true for an ambulance, for a fire truck, police cruiser, for anything that had a warrant article, if they say no, we don't get it.
Right, if it doesn't get funded, then you're not.
It doesn't get paid. Yeah,
But
Ellie, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's why I was curious, that's another reason why I don't vote for him, because I don't know if it matters, but to me it does, that if you wanna take the money out, you wanna put it in first. So I would think to put the money, you should put the money in first and then take it out, in order of the articles should be reversed.
It
Yeah.
doesn't.
Go ahead.
Do you want to-
No, go ahead.
It doesn't say when it's all going to happen, it's
Yeah,
sometime during the year, and we can't pad the capital reserves, we can't raise all this money and put it in there and have the residents of the town say, why are you raising my taxes to put money in there that you're not spending? So it's a pretty lean, what we keep in the capital reserves.
You don't know.
Well, we won't, we can't. We can do that.
Okay, go ahead, Ned.
I think they're looking to see our plan.
Okay, Ned.
One of the key things to remember here with these articles is they have to be approved by DRA down in Concord. These are articles that I'll say were prior years approved by DRA. So adding all of these suppositions in there, I can almost guarantee they're gonna say no, and we're gonna end up back here into this sort of an article.
Yeah, rewrite it.
Yeah,
well, I guess. We've also never tried to buy something we didn't have the money for.
Yeah, that's the other thing, you just raise the money.
And here specifically it says, no amount be raised by additional taxation.
Right.
So if you fall short by 3,000, you take it out of the general fund, you raise the taxes.
No, because
No.
the general fund is the general fund, you can't overspend it.
yeah,
So we would cut that from somewhere other line in there, but it wouldn't actually, it won't really raise taxes.
Wait till you get the spreadsheet.
It really won't go because
In-
that's the rate.
In theory, it won't. But you're still taking it from somebody else. So you're robbing. paying people
Well,
to pay.
the general fund is real. I mean, that's real money.
The
That is it.
reserves come from the general fund, right? So,
No.
I mean, we're the general
Some
fund.
some of them, some we do, and some we raise, but yeah.
That's where the 37,000 comes from the 4.6 million.
And the money
So the
is-
4.6 million gets approved, then there's the 37,000.
well,
No.
a fair amount of the money that's in the reserve fund and replenishing the reserve fund come from unrestricted fund balance at the end of the year. Extra wherever it comes from in numerous different sources. That, as you look later in the list of the pages
And
here.
that's how, yeah, that's how they.
appropriations are- Those are all from unreserved funds. Most of them come from that, so they've been.
Yep.
raised-
Undesignated.
They're undesignated, whatever funds.
Ellie,
So instead of putting $37,000 $30,000 into the capital reserve, why don't we just apply the two-year outlay? Instead of messing around, which is the word I wanted to use, but, instead of messing around, taking money out and then putting it back in, why don't we just take it all out at once and just call it in?
Because we would have had to encumber it that way, Elliot, and it would have to approve purchase last year. So.
Also, when you're buying,
Yeah, that doesn't help.
most of the time with
It won't last.
reserve accounts, you're feeding that account slowly but surely, let's just say 25, 30 a year. And it builds up to be a sufficient amount to pay for it.
We didn't put anything in last year, right? In a lot of the capital reserve. Yes, we did last year.
We did everything.
1 year and a year we did. Get the year.
Why was so tight?
Right, exactly.
Ellie,
2 years ago.
CIP committee recommended it, and it messed up the CIP report because they assumed that amount went into the warrant article when it didn't. So it messed up what was left in the, capital reserve. And that's part of the reason why we had to fund some of it from, general fund was because they didn't put enough in 1 year.
Can I make a suggestion that might resolve this question? I'm just looking at the numbers here. It does not address the electronics question. I do believe that's a separate issue. But I think we could address the point Ellie is making by a change of a number, not any words that the DRA would have to review. The warrant article could read, because the first line is they're voting to raise and appropriate $45,000. That's okay. A little later in the line, it says to authorize the withdrawal of up to $45,000. Well, we don't have that much, right?
No.
If it said to authorize the withdrawal of up to $38,678 from the capital reserve fund, it would be accurate. They would be authorizing us to withdraw all of the money in the capital reserve fund. But prior to that, they're authorizing the appropriation of $45,000. That only says where 37 and change of it would come from, the capital reserve fund. I think that might at least partially resolve the issue that says we don't have 45,000 in the capital reserve.
Nate,
Is that still true if the budget fails? Does the default budget contain funds to be able to put the money into the capital reserve fund,
No,
the shortfall?
No,
So that would work, Claude, as I understand it, as long as the budget passed as well.
I hear you.
correct.
Oh, yeah.
And that next article passed,
Yeah,
putting the money in the capital.
We could, Claude's got a good point. We can either reduce the price here or later at
Increase
Article
it later.
10. Just up the 37 to
Or make 37, 42. or whatever it
42 or
has to be.
45.
That's true, that would be another option.
And we do have,
Depending on if that article passes.
correct.
But that's
That's where
always,
you're running,
always the
that's where you're running into the problem.
that's always true, every year, every piece of equipment.
You're shelling out.
That's not unique to this. I mean, it's true, but. it's
spending money
always
that
true.
isn't there.
All equipment.
It's not legally
It's
allowed.
not unique to the
Yeah,
how we have.
that's what's easy.
That's the problem that we have how to operate it though, because the capital reserve should really be kind of your savings account built over
Right,
here.
you want.
Not dependent on
Right.
that vote for that year.
I agree with you.
Yeah, you're right.
Well,
See, my experience has always been your capital reserves are your savings account to that point.
Yep.
And don't be putting the cart in front of the horse.
So that's why we set up the CIP.
And we tried to do that, but 2 years ago, there was a crisis and we could not, we felt it.
Right.
And we should be covering what you're saying.
Okay,
That's good.
Sadie's talking.
Yeah, also just can't overfund those though.
Right.
Because if your taxes are going through the roof and you look at that and there's hundreds of thousands of extra dollars sitting in there waiting for us to buy equipment. You're not gonna be happy. So that's why it's, yeah.
But
Yeah.
isn't that why, you take, not everybody sees your full CIP, because you guys do like, what, 20 years?
We look out as far as 15 to 20 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to plan ahead is not.
And average it out. And
Right.
by a large amount all at once.
That is the goal, but once again, we fell behind 2 years ago by putting 0 in, so we're paying for it. So I suggest it's one of the two, either you reduce the amount being withdrawn here, or you increase the amount in the other article. To the amount needed to cover this
My
cruiser.
suggestion is to increase the second one.
I would
to the
second that,
45.
yeah.
Can we do it here?
We can't-
We don't write
I have
the
a
articles.
question.
We can't-
You can change the way it's written.
Yeah,
we can't- no, we
You change the number.
Budget
right?
committee,
What?
no, we can't do anything. All we can do is vote. The selectmen write the article. The select,
You can,
Change the number, can we?
the only, no, we only want to- Because that's the only article we can change. Otherwise, you have to wait till the delivery.
I think Hugh has a question.
And this will go to the deliberative session point. But just to open some eyes up and. I know we're looking at buying 2 cruisers that we did, and then this one, those, all that stuff's still in the works. If we keep down this road, it is definitely gonna bite us in the rear, because those cruisers are basically slotted. To replace 1 a year.
Right.
We've got a bad trend going with this right now. We're gonna find ourselves in the same situation next year, if not worse. With the increases and the inflation that's.
I
We
think,
need to be a little more cognizant and look at this.
I disagree because we spent hours and hours and hours on this, and if you look at. Local towns in our area, they're borrowing money for all of their purchases of equipment. We are in a much better position than many towns. Again, we can't add an extra 300,000 to the CIP this year to cover what we might borrow, what we might withdraw next year, because. We just can't do that. That's not fair. And we can't, Sal was there for it. I mean,
No, I think the thing that, to your point, is that when the CIP guys are forecasting their numbers, and we'll go to meetings and I watch them pretty closely. One of the things that they've done is they built in a rate of inflation and a kind of cost factor into the future. So that they're projecting out more dollars going in down the road next year for all of this stuff that's going on. So I think that they're addressing the shortfall that we're seeing this year down the road.
But we can't do it all at once.
right, and I think.
All at once, we could hit the taxpayer.
We probably spent 40 hours on this year.
I'm not denying anybody's work, this is not an easy job.
They work for that.
So you make some good points, and we're saying, you're correct, we should in theory save up ahead of time, so that when it comes time, the money's already there. We lost ground 2 years ago, we're trying to recover it, and we're looking at inflation. To try to prevent this from happening again, so you make some good points. These are just some responses to what's been happening and what we're trying to do about it.
Is there a replacement next year scheduled?
I believe that,
No.
1 year there's a skip because of
No.
what food is.
Yeah.
So it's next year that you want to skip.
yeah. Sal, go ahead.
See that.
Okay, Sal speaking.
Next year, no. It is a skip.
Okay, go ahead, Sal.
Yeah, so as you know, I'm new to this stuff, so.
What?
I'm just
You are?
trying to
Okay.
Feel for something here.
Yep.
So the way this works is, we eventually will approach, have an article that says we're gonna take currently $37,000 from the general fund and put it in.
That's correct.
Capital reserve to fund the futures.
Good.
This cruiser is being bought in the future. Meaning it's being bought in next year's monies, right? So we're asking the voters to take 37,000 and put it into the 2023 pot, correct?
Right.
Right. Yeah, and then so I understand that, I get it. And that'll cover any costs going forward, including the purchase of this 45, because you've already got 38, so if you had 37, you now got 70.
We don't have that. We only got- There's nothing.
Okay, now I get it. Now I see the problem. Thank you.
That's the problem. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
All right, Ally,
that money's already been moved over.
that's encumbered, Ally.
Already spent.
It's already been moved over and it's been encumbered in the.
Last year, we're done in the farm, so that would have been in there.
Yes, it is in there.
Is there? Okay.
Can we vote? Can we vote on the article?
Yes, we can do anything you want. You want to move the question?
Yeah.
That's what you want to
Yes,
do. Move the question.
Can we do that at the budget committee level?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All those in favor of Article 5 indicate by saying aye. Opposed? No. 2 opposed,
Three
No,
opposed?
3.
Okay.
Yep.
Five
Abstentions?
No, oh, 6-3, sorry.
All right, we're moving on to Article 6, replacement for backhoe. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $88,740 for the purchase of a replacement to the Highway Department's 2012 John Deere 410 backhoe with a similar piece of equipment. And further of this total to authorize the withdrawal up to $88,740 from the Highway Capital Reserve Fund with no additional amount to be raised by taxation. Any trade-in value proceeds from the value of the backhoe to be applied to the reduce the purchase price to be within the appropriated $88,740. Questions? Bill?
What's the trade-in value? Sorry, I missed this.
Oh.
What's the trade-in value?
Oh,
The backhoe.
we don't know.
don't know, and I would say damn little. I would say you're under.
What's the new purchase price of the tobacco?
A new purchase price for a backhoe would be a substantial amount of money, like way over 88,000. The idea is, yeah, it would be in the 100,000 range. A backhoe, in terms of how we use that piece, that type of piece of equipment now is no longer, I'll say, functional or efficient. The idea from the highway is to get a mini excavator, I forget if it's rubber tired or rubber treads, but a mini excavator that can move down the street independently and not have to turn and bend and twist and do all the other things. It's a much more efficient use of our
Okay.
stuff.
That would go to my second question was similar piece of equipment.
Right,
I'm in the excavation business. An excavator and a backhoe are completely different pieces of machine.
Absolutely.
So that's a complete lie to the public. And with my experience, the idea of us not having a backhoe is a very bad idea.
why would we need a backhoe?
Number one, the
Storms
backhoe
running
moving
around
over the
the
road is much faster than an excavator. That goes on a trailer and another piece of equipment pulling it. So now you have 2 pieces of equipment.
I can
Your
only,
loader goes down, you're gonna be forever filling trucks in a storm full of safety stuff.
There's multiple things. You have a storm, you run out on the roads and you shove trees out of the road with the backhoe. You have 2 loads. Any number of things, pushing snow. What are you gonna load your smaller trucks with the salt? You're gonna load them with a loader that's gonna spill it all over the place?
With a very small bucket.
With a backhoe, it goes in the.
I agree with you, Phil.
There's some serious concerns here. You're gonna severely limit the highway department.
It's the highway department's recommendations.
Say, yeah.
is there,
What Bob asked for.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I understand that you may have asked for it, but, I'm in the snow removal business. I'm in the excavation business and have been for a long time. And I know how this works. And anybody that I've talked to, because I've heard rumblings of this and the idea that you're saying similar piece of equipment is, deceptive. You're not replacing. And I don't even know how they can go about having this conversation, but I've heard about it. And I'm talking to people that have way more experience than I do, and they're going, that is a complete backwards tracking and is gonna make it harder for everybody. So I would highly recommend that that's not what you do. So from a financial standpoint in this town, I would be 100% against that.
So what kind of equipment does the highway department really need to do what they gotta do?
They need a backhoe.
They need a backhoe.
Oh, they need the back.
Yeah.
No.
Replace that backhoe.
No, they said they would prefer to have an excavator. That's what they've said they've
The
had.
roadie, the new road agent, the town has said that. Have you polled the highway department that actually does the work?
He's in charge.
Right, I mean, he said.
I'm not speaking unless you're paying me overtime.
Okay. I can only speak to what,
If I strip my shirt, I'm here as a citizen, not an employee. Want me to engage as an employee, you probably don't want me engaged.
okay,
That sums it up enough.
The town-
My position, my name is Hugh Weatherby Junior, and I am a laborer.
In the highway
Operator
department.
in the highway
Okay, thank you. That's what I'm working on.
As a
I
citizen,
just do not want to get involved in that.
as a citizen, a resident of Canaan.
He doesn't want to get fired.
Oh, I don't.
no,
No, I mean, I know you. Does it make sense to you?
To not replace that backhoe, it does not make sense to me to not replace the backhoe. Now, the conversations about a mini excavator would be very helpful in certain applications also,
They got no money.
and it's not. But that's some of the conversations that we'll have.
Okay,
So-
any other questions?
Just think that in order to figure out which articles we ought to approve, we ought to have an overall picture of the material, the equipment that the highway department thinks they need to have. And we got that at the CIP.
CIP.
And we've got,
Presented that.
yeah. Yeah. And so we,
Report with the listing,
Yeah, I don't know,
6 years.
okay, all right, yeah.
I don't know why I didn't. So what is the CIP committee recommend?
they recommend $88,740.
Okay. so this is-
Which we thought would be sufficient to buy a backhoe.
Okay.
Let's trade it. It may or may not be, I can't speak. to
Okay.
that from the experience.
Okay, we've got too many people talking. Hugh's got his hand up.
I have a question, I might know where that number kind of came from. That may have or may not have, I'm not 100% sure, but there was talk in the early begins about this. That a Kubota Coyote style type farm tractor with a backhoe on it and a bunch of attachments with roughly that number. Given a backhoe is gonna be double, if not a little more, well, right, 2.5 times that number right
Yeah,
there. It's set up.
Kubota tractors are not backhoes. Those are farm
Well,
tractors.
it was with the attachment, and I'm not sure if that's where that number came from, but I'll tell you that the trade-in value of that machine that we have sitting out there, every town person. Not gonna make up the difference between that.
No, it won't come
Not
out.
if a backhoe is gonna cost 200 grand.
And I'll just say, when you start buying equipment, and Phil, please chime in, and you start buying cheap, you can get cheap.
Well, that's,
I would agree with that.
You start buying toys, you start twisting them up like pretzels.
well, that's where you are with the Coyote isn't even in the ballpark.
I guess the next question is in the CIP, from looking at it from the CIP is the planning process. When was the first time a mini excavator was brought into conversation?
It was not, we did not discuss that. I don't think.
It would have been sometime in August when Bob started, give or take a little bit, and started understanding the lifespan of our equipment and what Bob, as our highway supervisor, needed to efficiently do and maintain our road.
So I guess I would go with, this is not a pre-planned change. This is a new person coming in wanting to completely change stuff that he doesn't really know. He's only worked for the town of Canaan for a short period of time. Our previous road agent was here for a long time. He went through the process of this whole thing and said, this is the replacement process for this piece of equipment. So for somebody to come in,
When you say he, you mean the original Bob Scott, because he did
Yeah.
not participate in the CIV planning process at all.
At all.
He
well,
was,
somehow you guys came up with a replacement for a back.
no, Bob Scott would not participate with us.
So how
He
did
didn't help that, Mike Sampson did his best, so he talked about,
Yeah,
and extract as much information as he could, and give us a plan to look at.
Okay, then the people that have been here or the people that were having contact with him were part of that process. So that's, and then I'm not saying that the mini excavator might not have its purpose, but it would not be a replacement, it would be an additional piece of.
Go ahead, Sadie.
my opinion is that the town looked for a highway superintendent for a long time. I'm sure they had numerous candidates. They hired Bob. People change things. I think that if we allow a couple of people to say, no, he doesn't need this without a lot of background information, that's completely undermining somebody who runs the department. He just had a 90-day review and received a salary increase. I tend to value his opinion.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say that Phil doesn't understand
Right.
what he's talking about, because I'll disagree with you.
Say that, I didn't say
Yeah.
that, I said I value Bob's opinion, and
Yeah.
I think that Bob has to run his department. He's a department head.
But on the other side of the coin,
Mhm.
we as a budget committee have to spend the taxpayers' money wisely. Is this a wise spending of their money? Me personally, I agree with Phil. You're looking at one loader right now to load trucks. That goes down and you've got a mini excavator, you don't have a loader to load trucks with sand and salt. You're done. You either rent one, borrow one, buy another one, but with a backhoe, a true backhoe. You've got a loader that you can load trucks with. In this article, what bothers me is the similar piece of equipment. Scratch that out, I'd probably support it, but otherwise than that, I won't support this. This is not spending the taxpayers' money wisely. And I don't care whether, I mean, I agree, Bob's been here 6 months. Or 90 days. Am I gonna evaluate him in 90 days? The selectmen had to, but I don't. When he's been here 1 year. And we've seen a winter. With him running the show through a whole winter. Then we can establish, yeah, he's pretty good, or the roads aren't bad. Go through a summer, the roads are horrible, they're terrible. Then you evaluate him after he's been here a year, as far as I'm concerned.
And what condition is this backhoe in? Because we got an evaluation from Guy on all of the equipment too, which I have here somewhere. So I mean, if we keep this backhoe and we don't replace it, is it going to?
But you're not
Sir.
replacing, you're putting in an excavator, that's my point. You're not replacing a backhoe, you're putting in an excavator, an additional piece of equipment. An excavator is not replacing a backhoe.
If we can't afford to replace the backhoe. Number one, we don't have the money and.
So we throw bad money against an excavator.
This article doesn't say excavator.
Yeah,
This article says a similar piece of equipment, which could be a backhoe.
Yeah, but we don't ask the people that are gonna be purchasing it, they're telling us that's gonna be.
Yeah, that's
That's the selectmen, they're the ones who will buy it.
Right.
And if you convince the selectmen that this isn't the way to go, then there's 88,000 to put on a down payment to something that is used. So.
you,
I hate to committee everybody together, but when we start talking large pieces of equipment and large volume, high dollar pieces of equipment. I think it's time to really start getting an opinion from more than just one person on these things, whether it's, yes, one department head definitely. Maybe an employee or two and somebody that's in that expert's field from the outside. If you could do that. Because when we start spending $250,000, $400,000 on stuff and have one person make that choice to put it in front of the board, well, you know, we don't do it, we do something on the fire side, for example. We put a truck committee together, what's the best uses for the people that are using it? What's the best for the department, what's the best for the town, financially responsible of what we can actually really purchase. We take the bells and whistles off and get the nitty gritty. And that's how I've always kind of been around towns that have offered. And. I'm a citizen. From what I've been seeing going on over in that. Little lot over there. I'd be concerned about it. And I'm not gonna go into detail, I'm just gonna bring that up. So people-
Thank you. Anybody else? Ellie?
Yeah, does anybody know how much is, what the equipment cost is built on?
67, 165.
That's left over from last year.
Yeah, that's
We
what's
would-
there now.
Nope.
That's all.
And we would add to it 170.
Right, so.
So we're gonna put some money in and take some more money out for the bulldozer. And I don't know if that's.
So Ellie, excuse me if I may, I think what you're driving at is. You got us a specific number, what's in there right now. If I just heard correctly, a true replacement backhoe might cost us in the neighborhood of $200,000. We only planned $100,000. We only have enough money. To fund $100,000. We were led to believe $100,000 would get us a replacement. Well, if that's not true, it's not true, but the money's not there. We're going, in 2 years, we're gonna be down to essentially almost zero. 16,000 according to the plan.
The bulldozer, will that help?
If we want,
Yep, the bulldozer, the next thing, because the selectmen did not approve that one on the work, on the bulldozer.
I did not know that, but how much is that worth?
26,000.
Huh, the drop in the bucket was 200.
It takes 100 pennies to make a dollar. And you gotta start somewhere.
I'm
Sal,
not sure this is the place to start reevaluating which piece of equipment to buy or not buy. But
How long was the backhoe? What's the condition of the backhoe currently?
It is poor at best, and has,
we've had it a long time.
I
yeah,
know that it needed to be replaced in 23.
yeah.
Yeah, there are 4 pieces that really should be replaced in 23.
And then, and what, I was at the meetings where all this went on with Bob when he came in and it all went round and round. On that kind of what to do. And it was everybody's impression that. He felt strongly that, this would, fill his gap at this point in time. Right? And I'm sure if they needed to get that backhoe working to load some trucks up, or load things up, they probably could manage them.
And
So I
I think his position was that a lot of the equipment that we currently have is not right for the job that we need. It was purchased used or
Yeah.
less expensive.
Well, I mean, it was also, we can try and spend it all and have all new equipment this year. And I mean, that's the direction we're looking at right now. I want a new backhoe, I want a new grader, I want a new bulldozer. But frankly, we can't afford that. And there's gonna have to be some nicks here somewhere. And it would have been better if the road agent would have talked to everybody and said, which piece of equipment is more important, the backhoe or the bulldozer?
There were multiple conversations with the road agent and the select board about what equipment with the CIP as well, so.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't all new information just coming out tonight, so.
But I mean,
There was a CIP public hearing. It's a shame that some of these issues weren't reviewed by the public at that time. But would have had a chance to react.
I couldn't.
Ellie,
Yeah, no, oh, yeah, I was one of the CIP meetings, and I mean, I know what kind of a person Bob is, and I don't wanna jump in.
let's not talk about personalities.
But I think from what I can gather, and he seems like he knows what he's doing, and I think he's trying to act in the best interest of the town, so I'm not gonna question his motive. But I do, what struck me and, gave me pause, what he said, what I remember is he said, anyway, it wasn't so much the equipment was junk or anything like that, or that it was old. It was just that a lot of equipment we have, he thinks is not appropriate for what it's supposed to be used for. So that's, I think, a lot of his motivation is to get us on the right track, to have the right equipment for the job. And not that it's new or whatever, or different or anything like that.
But we can't do it in 1 year. We can't do it in 1 year. Bring all this stuff up to par in 1 year.
Because.
But- It doesn't say new. And nowhere in this article does it say a new backhoe. That's a possibility, you know, that's something that we haven't discussed. Can we buy a good? A good used backhoe? For 88,000, I think probably you could. That would get us through a couple of years. Roger,
I think this committee is, their duty is to decide whether they recommend these articles or not. It's not to really discuss all this stuff. 'cause-
well, that's what I said, we're not gonna write them here, it's not our job.
Yeah, the CIP, the board and the department all talked about this for whatever, how many months. Now, your job is to just say whether you recommend or don't recommend this article.
Well, that's what my feeling is, as I said, we're not gonna rewrite the article.
That's your job.
Well, we do, yeah,
This is-
okay.
Select board are gonna approve any expenditure, yeah, that's money anyway, you know,
That's right.
like specifics, so.
We bring those guys up to each of these meetings and nobody talks about that stuff. So,
All right, we've got the backhoe on the floor. Want to go ahead and vote on it?
Yes.
All those in favor of Article 6, say aye.
Right.
Those opposed, no.
That's 3 no's.
Oh, and Karen,
Oh, okay.
Against Dave.
Yes, all right, abstentions? There was what, one? Okay, one abstention.
Okay, so that's 5, yeah. 2 no and 1 abstention,
That's what it looks like.
okay.
Okay, Article 7, replacement of the bulldozer. See if the town will vote to raise appropriate the total sum of 26,000 and $56 for the purchase of a replacement to the highway department's 75 International bulldozer with a similar piece of equipment, and further of this total to authorize the withdrawal of up to $26,056 from the Highway Capital Reserve Fund with no additional amount to be raised by taxation. Any trade-in value or proceeds from the sale of the bulldozer is to be applied to reduce the purchase price to within the appropriate $26.56. Questions? Nate,
Just like to ask you, Steve, the select board does not approve this, this
We just don't
warrant.
think it's appropriate right
Okay.
now.
You
We
think,
don't
you
use
think we
the,
don't need it?
we don't use the bulldozer enough.
Okay.
We think we need a piece of equipment.
Yep.
But I think.
It can be- it can be held off.
it can be another year.
It's so close to the 50-year mark. Let's hang on a couple of years.
Put a little black on it.
We can get antique
It's used for the pit only,
Yeah.
and
Right,
Okay.
that's exactly it, and that was why it was bought, and I remember when it was bought, we purchased it for a good price, we got a good deal on it. Luckily, we had Tom Myler working in there, and he put it back together, and did a good job.
my understanding is we'd be buying a used bulldozer. That was my understanding with backhoe as well. We'd be looking to buy a used backhoe.
Yeah.
I didn't- So
Okay,
That's your feeling,
that's the wording for similars.
that's your feeling,
That's my understanding.
okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Just to follow up with that, it says similar, same wordage as the last one. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but bulldozers. Range widening and. At 26,000, you're not buying much of a bulldozer,
I agree with you,
and we're gonna be right back in the same boat we were working on.
a decent bulldozer is gonna run 100 to 125.
Well, I think you can go for less than that, but that, in 2 years, you're gonna be right back in the same boat as that, you're gonna come under here.
All right, anything else? Ellie,
So let's set it off. the equipment fund instead. I mean, I think-
No, you can't do that.
It's not designated in the capital reserve fund for a bulldozer. It's equipment for the highway department. That's the capital reserve fund element, so.
All right, go ahead and vote on it.
Yes,
All those in favor of Article 7, say aye.
I,
Those. How many ayes?
Yeah, just one.
One.
Okay.
Those opposed?
Essentially, everybody else, okay.
One abstentions? You voted? Okay, one abstention? No, it wasn't Sharon, it was Sadie. Sadie.
And who voted yes?
me, I'm the bad guy.
Okay.
No, John, you're not the bad guy. I've known you long enough. All right, Article 8, replacement of skid steer loader. See if the town will vote to raise appropriate the total sum of $24,216 for the purchase of a replacement to the transfer stations. New Holland 1994 skid steer loader with a similar piece of equipment. And further of this total to authorize the withdrawal up to $24,216 from the non-lapsing transfer station special revenue account with no additional amount to be raised by taxation. Any trade-in value proceeds would go towards the skid steer. Trade-in is to be applied to reduce the purchase price to within the amount appropriated. I remember when that, in fact, I was on the board when that skid steer was bought. We bought it in Vermont and it was used. Not abused, but used, and it needed some work to make it work over here. And they found out that after having it, that it's a pretty important piece of equipment. They're using it all the time over there. So that's coming out of the transfer station central revenue. Ellie,
Yeah, I can't find an account with that title. Is that the recycling account?
I would assume that would be it.
Yes,
And there's not enough money in that either, unless there's been more added, since there's only 10,000. Is there 26 in there now?
I would have to look it up.
Okay, that's another, so I can't vote for it if there's not enough money.
Dennis.
Recycling fund.
It says budget committee recommends 9 to 0. Where does those numbers come from?
That's just a
placeholder. In that way.
placeholder.
So
It's last year's vote or whatever you want to do it.
But the 0 to 3 is
Your selectmen is correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, from
Yeah,
last night.
the only one is the selectman that is correct on here.
And this is true throughout the entire document. The select board voting numbers are correct.
They take vote, they take bets on.
The budget committees are just cut and paste from prior years.
They take bets on how many votes.
So the selectman didn't think this was a good idea.
There is a lot going on at the transfer station that we're making decisions on and we're not ready to make that decision. We don't want to put money into a skid steer, so it may not be part of the plans that we're looking at.
Okay.
So
All
that's
right,
where we're
that
at.
makes sense.
The timing is incorrect for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess the question is this department head generated? Because if the select board is not for it, why are we?
Because it's part of the CIP, it was in the CIP program, and so the plan was that even when the CIP was being put together earlier in the fall. That was the plan we were gonna move forward with. You know, some changes in the transfer station, we're still evaluating, and we're gonna make the right decision.
Any more questions? We'll go ahead and vote.
We need this kind of equipment, we are.
It'll have to hold off for a year or two. I mean, it's
And would that
unfortunate.
make things very difficult.
I don't know. Again, we're just not, I don't want to take money out and spend it and then not a piece of land.
Anything can use around town, a lot of places. Other than just a transfer, so.
You could use.
Ellie,
Yeah, I think so, so it's, well, yeah, since that's the main reason the selectmen voted against it was they were not really sure where they're going with the transfer station, is this something that in other departments, use, like the highway department?
Of course it is,
But can
but not loading trucks. Yeah, transfer stations use pieces of equipment from the highway.
Yeah,
I know, but this is bought with a question.
Yeah, that's true. You bring up a good point. This is,
Taxes and water and sewer, and that was bought with a grant, and it wasn't supposed to use anyplace else. Water and sewer never been done.
yeah, I don't think I would count on this being used
Okay.
in other places in the town if it's bought with the transfer of money.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna vote for it anyway, but I just thought that that might be something that needed to be thought about. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, all those in favor of Article 8, say aye.
I'm kind of doing that to show that there's some uncertainty in this crowd. And I don't want to show the voters that we're 9-0. I think it's
Well, usually, I agree
two
with,
unknowns here.
yeah, I agree with you, John, but usually Ellie fills out.
I know.
So if everybody votes no, Ellie votes yes, is that?
No, I've never heard that, yes.
That's my bet.
I've worked with Ellie a long time and yes is not part of her vocabulary. All right, so all those in favor, go ahead, Karen. All right, so we got 2 yeses. All those opposed? 1 abstention,
Yeah, I'll say.
1 abstention. Sadie. Article 9, purchase. Enclosed trailer for fire department, UTV, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 for the purchase of an 18-foot enclosed trailer with a generator and mobile radio system. This trailer will be used for storage and transport of the off-road utility, UTV of the fire department. This trailer will also serve as a mobile, command post where the UTV is being used. The UTV was purchased and donated to the town of Canaan Fire Department by the Canaan Firefighters Association through donations and fundraising. Questions? Sadie,
Was this part of the CMP?
no, it was not.
Okay,
This came
this
up
is
about a
an
week
in
ago.
addition.
okay,
First time it came up was a week ago.
okay.
Any other question? Just Mike.
That's a very round number, 25,000, is that more of an estimate, basically, or, I mean.
That is an estimate within, I'm gonna put it out there, about 1,000, so it's about. The trailer, to give some background on the trailer, it's a high-rise trailer to put the UTV in because of the height. Also has cabinetry to store helmets, other safety equipment, forestry equipment, and stuff like that, and then mobile rate, so that itself is. At the time that we were getting a quote from the guy, and it was 15,000 just for the trailer and the cabinetry, and that's even part of everything. The quote I have for Ospey for the 2 radios that are going there is $6,100, and the quote that I have from the local generator dealer is $2,600 for a generator. So with the inflation stuff, we put in a little buffer in there. We're not looking to spend all of that.
Sadie,
Lockdowns.
let's Sadie first.
I just have a couple of questions. So what, do you have something that you're using now? How effective is it and how often do you use this type of, like, how often are you out there using the UTV?
This UTV, we just actually purchased it in December from the fire police station.
Okay,
In the process of donating to the town. Process right now, it's still getting set up, so it's not currently. Over the past couple of years, we have had one that was kind of on loan, but during insurance purposes and things like that, we ran into that's not a good idea. I'd use my own. I'm gonna say, I think all the information was 14 times in the last 2 years. About things that we've needed and used, and since we stopped that, having the one under loan per se. There's been at least another 7 times, and that took place in, August, that we pulled that out. In that short period of time. We do have a trailer right now. It is not enclosed at all. So we take this thing, that's basically just to transport it back and forth for us right now. It barely fits on the trailer. It's almost a 14-foot unit, it's a 14-foot trailer on it. Open, so if we go to need this thing out. Any of these snowmobile trails. We go out there right after the storm, that thing's gonna have a bunch of stuff, cake and stuff on it, because there's not covers with these. The other thing is to that is. With the storage and actual room on the apparatus floor over there. We are out of room, I wish I wouldn't have taken it off the trailer, but working on it, because I could have taken some people over and shown, but we basically have an inflatable boat between our trailers that go now that stood up. There's about that much space between our tanker and about the same on the other side of the engine. The engine that backs in front of those, there's about 2 feet of space.
So this would allow you to store it
Store it
outside,
outside.
protected.
Protected.
From Mother
ready
Nature.
to go. And it would already have all of our safety equipment into it, plus some of our forestry equipment. So, yeah, Zena's got a picture if anybody wants. to
Yeah,
see.
I have one, and it's kind of how squishy it is.
Sadie,
Uh,
I have another question. Do any of the towns that respond mutual aid have something that they bring that's similar?
They do, yeah. But we have to wait for it,
Okay. Thank you.
and that can be half hour or more sometimes.
and I think some of this is bringing somebody off the mountain
Yeah, yeah. no.
on a stretcher. This is on tracks, I believe. Is that
It's
right?
on track,
Yeah.
right? Yep, it's on tracks. The other thing that we've run into lately is we get a lot of long narrow roads. Where during structure fires, you cannot get personnel in and out of those without, you load a person up with 70 pounds of gear on them. And have them hike half mile, I've almost hiked a mile into a scene before structure fire, and it's not conducive, because by the time you're there, you're doing rehab.
You're not able to work, so.
You are spent. So it's the unit itself, it's all great name, we want to make it so. The other piece I was kind of going into was that whole command post piece. So when that UTV backs out of this trailer with the inverter and with the heater, and especially during winter operations, and it may be snowmobile accident, somebody's lost in the woods. You name it, we may be there, but it gives us a lighted in out of the weather protected place to work. And with the radio setups in it, with the inoperability, because now we start working a lot more in this Hanover Dispatch, Lakes Region, Kearsarge. When we bring it in for an incident like that, you need to have the operational radio equipment to actually do that for the inoperability for the state. So we can really talk to each other, so you got a 100-watt radio in there, that pretty much covers the dispatch centers that we're working closely with. And then we have a field radio, so we can monitor, gives us a modern place.
The question I would have about the radio, $6,100 you say, is we must have radios on other equipment today that we use for command center type activity when we go to a scene. Do those pieces of equipment not respond when this UTV does?
No, they do, yeah.
So I guess I'm wondering, there's some duplication in central radio capabilities here that we don't really need to spend $6,000 for a piece of equipment that I think you said we only use 7 or 8 times a year.
Well, it could be used more, it's really.
That's what I'm wondering.
Right.
Is it really worth the $6 grand plus?
What is because,
Yeah.
so in the operational piece of that, yes, okay, so I'm gonna take. John's Jeep car that we got a couple years. Has 100-watt in the front, 40 in the rear. That is not efficient when you're laying out maps and trying to get a mapping on
Right.
somebody and
Right.
need that
I
communication
understand
back
that.
and
Yeah,
forth
yeah,
where you're getting into there.
Yeah.
And have that, plus. That vehicle could also be unhooked and another piece of that operation that you don't have, so you don't have it sitting right there where your main command post is gonna be set up. So that's what I thought of that, was trying to make that, yes, it sounds like a lot of money, but make that it's self-sufficient. When you get that thing, you've got a place.
But isn't it in the trailer, so it stays with the trailer? So that's where the piece of equipment that towed it there is. Correct?
No, you can unhook and
The
go.
base station,
It's a trailer, so.
So if we need him to go up a different road and access, or send somebody in that vehicle,
We're gonna hook it.
that vehicle go on.
Can you tow that trailer with an ATV, UTV?
because you're saying the base station of the radio system is in the trailer, correct? Isn't that what you just said?
We want to buy a new base radio station.
For the trailer.
Yeah.
So you tow the trailer, then you take the UTV, you go out in the woods.
Yeah.
Your UTV and your trailer, or your tow vehicle and your trailer, both have the base station in them, and you're out 2 miles down the road on the UTV, so I'm that to Bud's point.
UTV also has a radio.
UTV has a radio also.
Yes, yeah.
Radio was 2,600.
Yeah.
Generator was 6,000.
Any other questions? All right, we'll go ahead and vote on Article 9. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? You get those counts?
I got 4.
Okay, abstentions. 1, 2, 3,
Extension.
4. Pretty good. 3.
2, 4, 4. They have 9 people here.
I got a 2, 4, 3.
2, 4, 3 is what I got.
All right, Article 10, appropriate, to cruiser capital reserve, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $37,000 to be added to the previously established police cruiser capital reserve fund. This sum to come from the unreserved fund balance as of December 31st, 2022. And this is surplus and will be require that no additional amount be raised from taxation.
Point of order, can we change that dollar amount?
I don't think we can.
No, you can't.
We don't have the authority.
No.
You guys do.
You do, but we don't.
So tomorrow night we can change it?
Yeah.
We can vote again.
So Steve, it sounds like you would need to go from 37 to 40 and have 0 coming out of the general fund.
Well, I'd like it to match up with the original one for the 45 for the cruiser, so it's 45,
Okay.
45. Well, minus what we have, it's one minus what we have.
It's traded in and there's money in the account.
But the trade is not guaranteed, so what's in the account right now?
What's in the account right now is 1833
Okay,
and 36.8 is going in. That you were gonna use.
say it again,
There's 1833 left over from last year.
we're saying we're gonna put 37 in.
And you're gonna put, yeah, I'm sorry, my mistake, I was reading the wrong piece of paper. You're gonna put in 37.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go, do that.
A question, as we go through these, where we're taking money from an unreserved fund balance,
Yeah.
that's a surplus in the budget. When you add it all up, is there in fact that amount of money in the?
There is.
budget?
There's much more than.
There is,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
just wanted, it's a lot of money, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's-
Undesignated fund balance is big.
That's good.
Any other questions? All those in favor of Article 10? Please raise your hand.
9, 0.
Oh, we got a yes from Don in the back. All right. Make a note of that. Those opposed? Abstentions? All right, Article 10.
Yeah.
You want to vote on another number?
We can.
Can't, not tonight.
Public tomorrow.
Public hearing.
The selectmen can change tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, yeah.
Or you can like re-vote on it and we'll have to go.
But we can change our vote too,
Correct.
as long as we do it during the hearing.
So tomorrow night we'll see, but they'll go no on that.
Make a note of that, Steve. Article 11, appropriate to fire truck capital reserve, see if the town will vote to raise. Appropriate the sum of $85,000 to be added to the previously established fire truck capital reserve fund. This sum to come from the unreserved fund balance as of December 31st, 2022 surplus, and will require that no additional amount be raised from taxation. Basically the same thing, only we're putting it in a capital reserve for the fire truck,
For the rescue vehicle, well, fire truck, fire equipment, yeah.
fire equipment, yeah. All right, any questions?
A comment, but if you don't mind, from the CIP point of view, this is an example where the CIP committee hasn't been able and is continuing to try to plan ahead to save the money in advance, to be able to buy a big piece of equipment without having, in this case, to be more specific, by putting in this 85,000 by the year 2024, there's a plan to buy a rescue vehicle for $500,000, and we would still have a little over 100,000 still in reserves toward the next vehicle. So this is an example where we're trying to do what several folks in the room have suggested we should be trying to do. We just fell behind on the police cruisers because we didn't put any money in 2 years ago. And the other thing is, the 500,000 in 2 years is an inflated amount. It's more than the vehicle would cost today, but we're trying to plan ahead for inflation. So just an example of where the CIP process is attempting to deal with the issues, some of the issues that were described earlier today.
What was the amount that was put in last year?
I think 60 or 65. We've increased it significantly. For inflation reasons. Those costs of equipment is going up. Yeah.
It was-
Exactly.
Mike, you had a question?
It's just a comment, and I think Claude is aware of this. It wasn't, negligence 2 years ago that the police cruiser reserve wasn't funded. We were up against a wall, and we were looking at we looked at every column and said, my God, and we rolled the dice and said, well, maybe we'll get an extra year out of the cruiser.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't work, but
Right.
we had no choice.
That's correct.
We could raise, we could have every reserve fully funded,
60.
raise taxes 60%.
It wasn't a matter of incompetence.
No.
No.
It was just,
Hard.
hey, the roll of the dice.
We thought we'd get one extra.
Dennis?
Move the question.
All right. All those in favor of Article 11, raise their hand.
Okay.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Moving on to 12, appropriate to water and sewer non-lapsing operating account. See if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $14,000 to be added to the previously established water sewer non-lapsing operating account. This sum to come from the universal, I keep wanting to call it universal, unreserved fund balance as of December 31st, 2022. And will require no additional amount to be raised by taxation. Questions? All right, we'll go ahead and vote on it. Article 12, all those in favor, raise your hand.
Eight one.
8-1.
Now, I thought water and sewer was supposed to use the funding.
I'm sorry, I have a question. What's the difference between this article and Article 3? The book for water and sewer operation.
What's the problem?
This is adding to a capital reserve fund.
Yeah, this is a,
Yeah.
Oh. A non-lapsing, it's not capital, but
Right.
adding to a non-lapsing account.
yes.
That's,
Or
thank you.
capital.
That's the difference. Thank you. I'm sorry.
All right, Article 13, appropriate to highway capital, equipment capital reserve. See if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $170,000 to be added to the highway equipment capital reserve fund. This sum to come from the unreserved fund balance as of December 31st, 2022, and will require that no additional amount be raised from taxation. Questions?
What's the current balance?
Oh, yeah.
Which one?
The highway.
The highway current balance, capital reserve.
Current balance. I'm looking it up. 67,765 was the leftover from the prior year. With a plan to put in 170,000 more this year, which is an increase.
Right. Because of inflation.
Due to inflated
There's
costs.
some big trucks coming in the future.
Well, what do you have for current?
Oh,
67,765.
Go ahead, Phil, you had a question?
I guess if I can, thing is, I heard.
That's what we do have.
We, I'm sure those verified.
Highway mobile fund.
All right. Go ahead, Phil.
I've heard rumblings of replacing a grader, and at this point, those numbers aren't gonna accommodate that for next year.
correct. The grader needed a hearing back in, and this is my mistake, we should have had a hearing back in late December. We missed that deadline, so we were unable to hold a hearing
Public meeting.
and a public meeting for a bond vote. Because the grader was gonna be on a loan, whether you get a bank loan or a bond from the bond bank. The state treats it the same way, so we will be waiting until next year to do. A hearing and the bond vote, in the correct process.
I guess you've lost me.
So the state for a bond expenditure, Phil, the state requires a public hearing before it becomes a warrant article. To disclose what we're planning on doing, it was gonna be a 10-year loan payment. We missed that deadline by days and we couldn't recapture it because everything is so tight getting up to the deliberative session. We just can't fit it in, so, and do it legally, so.
If you don't mind, because some folks in the room, the reason they're talking bond. A grader would cost north of $300,000. Yes. There's no way in God's green earth we had been accumulating anywhere near enough money to pay for that out of capital reserves plus a backhoe, other pieces of equipment. So it was decided, unfortunately, last September, that the only way to buy a grader would be to get a loan. And that would, we just recently, apparently, the town just realized that would have required a public hearing, and that deadline got missed and so on. But that's the reason why they're talking about it.
I believe that was
$300,000 plus, we just don't have it.
a lease buy, I believe that was the
It
talk,
was a purchase,
purchase, yeah.
loan
Yeah,
purchase.
Yeah.
It was not a lease.
Well, lease was evaluated
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
correct.
and set aside, and the decision was the best answer would be
buy it,
to buy it new and get a loan to do that.
okay.
10% definitely.
Okay, well, it's the bond.
Either way, we would have had to have public hearings. first.
Yeah. Public hearing is the issue, not whether it's lease. Okay, any other questions? Voting on Article 13, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Okay,
Those
that
opposed,
was 9.
all right. Article, abstentions? Article 14, appropriate to the transfer station special revenue account to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $7,500 to be added to the non-lapsing transfer station special revenue account. This sum to come from the unreserved fund balance as of December 31st, 2022, and require that no additional amount be raised by taxation. Questions? Ellie?
Yeah, well, I think. Yesterday, we went along with all of that, but wasn't there some question as whether that was possible or not, because this is a revenue fund and it's supposed to come from recycling. And so I I question whether it's legitimate to take money out of the general fund directly and put it in there. It is not called that in the recycling fund, but
That's a reasonable question
The way it's been written
For several years,
several years.
yeah, several different times.
okay,
And these have gone through.
The RA.
Under review by the attorney.
okay, all right. Any other questions?
I ask that is because the voters are the trustees. And DRA has told us before that because, a previous town administrator tried to take money out of the general fund and put it in a capital reserve, and he was told he couldn't unless, and then I found it in the law, that the only accounts that you can appropriate from the general fund, are the ones that the selectmen are trustees. So that's why I had the question. Because it's inconsistent with what DRA said before.
The selectmen aren't the trustees of this account,
Well, we are,
the people,
yeah, we just voted on the kids here,
yeah,
so. The same rule should apply. Nice to tell both ways.
well, DRA will tell us. All right, we're gonna go ahead and vote on Article 14. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? One. Abstentions? All right, we're moving. Flying now. Article 15, appropriate to the government building capital reserve fund to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 to be added to the government building capital reserve fund. This sum to come from the unreserved fund balance as of December 31st, 2022. Require that no additional amount be raised from taxation. Questions? Our buildings are falling apart.
We got too many of them, that's why.
Oh,
We need to sell some of them.
all right, we'll sell the,
Sell the lot.
well, why not? We'll sell a highway department. That'll bring in good money. All right. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ellie? Abstentions? We're good. Article 16, appropriate to the Bridge Capital Reserve Fund. See if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 to be added to the Bridge Capital Reserve Fund. This sum will come from the unreserved fund balance as of December 31st, 2022, and will require that no additional amount be raised from taxation. Questions? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Oh, we gotta be. Oh. Everybody voted. Good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there we go.
Abstentions? Establish Article 17, establish an emergency medical service capital reserve fund. See if the town will vote to establish an emergency medical service capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35:1 for vehicle and equipment replacement and to raise appropriate the sum of $50,000 be placed in this fund. Further, no name of the trustees of the trust funds to name the trustees of the trust fund as agents to expend from said fund. This sum to come from the unreserved fund balance as of December 31st, 2022, and require that no additional amount be raised from taxation. Ellie, got a question? Right, I agree with you, but I haven't either. Well, I think it's the people. I like the people. In certain instances, the selectmen have to be the trustees. Right,
So
okay.
can you change that?
We,
Tonight,
not tonight, we can't change the article tonight.
Can the selectmen change it tomorrow
they can,
to say that the voters are authorized to expend,
if
right?
they want them, they can.
If they want to be added.
Legislative bylaw, and we should talk to Kelly about that, because I don't think that there's ever been a case that I've ever been.
Yeah, I agree with you, Raleigh. I don't remember anything other than the selectmen or the people.
Steve, can you carry that tomorrow?
I'll
Yeah,
make sure that we have edits for it, and then I will check with DRA, because this one came right out of the DRA website, and
okay.
I'm not
I
sure
think Kelly's right.
I'm not sure if I edited that one or not.
All right, we'll vote on it. Article 17, we're gonna vote on. Me personally, I don't like the way it's written, so I'm not gonna support it. All those in favor say aye. 3,
So say.
all those opposed, John, Steve and Mike. We're the positives. I'd like to see it rewritten.
How many was that? There was
It was 3 yes,
3 to 6.
3,
I know,
but
Question? Does that mean if it were rewritten, you'd change your vote?
yes.
Oh, will there be an opportunity to do that?
All right.
For the budget committee, oh, tomorrow. Okay.
Once it's
Okay.
rewritten, there's a couple of these in here that need to be, in my opinion.
I didn't know. if it was-
Article 18, Grafton County Senior Citizens by petition. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $13,500 to Grafton County Senior Citizen Council Incorporated. Through the Mascoma Area Senior Center and the Service Links Resource Center. For services for Canaan resident in 2022. From July 1st through July 2021 to June 30th, 22. The Mascoma Area Senior Center residents. Mascoma Senior Center provided services for 265 Canaan residents. Service Link provided services for 98 Canaan residents. These services include congregate meals, home delivered meals, transportation, outreach support, Service Link support and more. The cost of providing these services was $137,445.23. Questions? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? 1.
I'm gonna abstain on all these, so you go ahead and just put that there.
West Central Behavioral Health by petition to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,920 for the support of West Central Behavioral Health in fiscal year 2022 from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 22. West Central provided 1,658 services to 57 Canaan residents, including 37 children. As the region's nonprofit community mental health center, West Central Behavioral Health provides mental health services and substance use disorder treatment for many of the most vulnerable residents, including adults, children, elders. Support from the town of Canaan will help us sustain our commitment to provide mental health services to area residents. Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstention, we know 1, 2 abstentions. That was Mike and Nate. Everybody caught up? Article 20, Wise by petition, shall the voters raise and appropriate the sum of $2,100 to support the mission of Wise in providing free 24-hour crisis support services and advocacy to victims of domestic and sexual violence and stalking. Any questions? Yes? Opposed? One abstention, two abstentions. Public Health Council. Will the voters raise and appropriate the sum of $2,846 to support Public Health Council in Upper Valley services to Canaan residents in 2023. Services include monitoring pandemic response, recovery, communications around the public health initiatives and resources supporting programs for older adults. Hey, we're all falling into that, aren't we?
You're only as young as you feel.
You had to bring that up, Steve. All right, yes, you had a question, wait.
Most of these are the usual suspects, but I don't recognize this group. This is the first year.
No, no, I don't know. A couple of these were not in there last year because they didn't get petitions in time. That may have been.
Taking the COVID vaccine clinic.
I think we changed their name.
Okay, they might have, Ellie, they might have changed their names. Yeah. All right, all those in favor of Article 21? Opposed? Abstentions, 1, 2. Article 22, Tri-County Community Action, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,588 for the operation of Tri-County Community Action Program Incorporated, service programs in Canaan, transportation, energy assistance, weatherization, guardianship, homeless intervention and prevention, disaster relief, Tamworth Dental Center. All those in favor say aye. Oh, yes, I got one question, wait.
I wanted to ask Mark, I read something about this agency in the Valley News and having a real lack of response in Grafton County. Do you refer your clients to them and have they provided services? Yeah, they're it. No, 36 of them this year. Okay.
Do you have any idea how much that they benefit from that financially?
No, I don't find that.
You don't get that information. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
21, I got 242. So.
There was 3 yeses.
Yes, 3 yeses.
That you, Steve?
Yeah, 3, 4, 2.
With the 3 yeses.
All right, Article 22, Tri-County.
Most of them have been 4-3.
Yeah.
This was.
That was a yes.
Were you a yes?
All those in favor of Tri-County?
Hold on, we've got to.
Yeah,
I'm trying to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that was 342.
342.
Yep, I thought we had that. All right. All those in favor say aye. Put your hand up.
That's
1, 2, 3. Opposed? Abstentions? 2 abstentions? All right, Article 23, Advanced Transit. Will the voters raise and appropriate the sum of $9,840 to support advanced transit to help public transit services to Canaan residents in 2023? Questions? It's the bus. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 2 abstentions. 24, Mascoma Community Health Center. Shall the voters vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to support Mascoma Community Health Center? This appropriation will be used to offset part of the annual $100,615 in donated care provided to uninsured underinsured Canaan residents. Hang on. Over the past 5.5 years. On average, more than 10% of all visits are donated care. Mascoma Health Center continues to accept new primary medical patients. Adds about 50 new patients a month. The health center served 1,168 residents from Canaan during 2022. This represents about 30% of the town's population. Canaan residents made 5,324 visits to the center. Any questions? That's the health center. All those in favor say yes. Noes? Abstentions? 1. VNH. Let's see.
Visiting nurses.
Visiting nurses. Shall the town of Canaan vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,700 to help support the home health, maternal and child health, hospice care provided in patients' homes and in the community settings by the visiting nurse and hospice for Vermont, New Hampshire. Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? 1 abstention?
Yep.
Article 26, the Bridge House Incorporated. See if the town of Canaan will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,000 for the Bridge House Incorporated Homeless Shelter and Veterans Advocacy. The Bridge House is registered 501c3 nonprofit that provides a range of services for all the Grafton County, from community meals to a place to shower to help filling out applications for assistance. The Bridge House is the only shelter in New Hampshire that allows veterans to bring in their 4-legged sidekicks. I don't see the value there, but go ahead. The Bridge House hires prevention specialists to support Grafton County residents by working with them in their homes and avert homelessness. This is a new one.
I have the same question. They turned down some more. Do you have any way to cover first, you know? But there's a couple of the things in there. No, you know what? Couple of them.
Well, she wouldn't refer them if she thought they were fine.
So they're full. Yeah. All right, we'll vote on that one. Article 26, all those in favor? Opposed? 2, 3. Abstentions? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we're running down. Readopt all veterans tax credit.
We don't vote, yeah.
Oh, come on, just getting wound up. Looks to me like we're done.
Right.
I gotta go over these again.
So that doesn't incur financial burden.
It does, but it's not in the corporation.
Okay.
It has the tax rate, but it's not in the corporation.
So.
Yes, Roger.
So I have advanced transit passing 432, am I wrong?
432 on advanced transit.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Sadie said yes, so I'm going with Sadie.
432, correct.
432.
432.
So just yes, I'm gonna say so.
Who voted against the advanced transit? I'm putting on the spot.
I did.
Sal,
I don't support any of these.
I know.
David's feeling is, if you want to support one of these, write a check It's not up to me to take tax money from Sadie and donate it to who I think is appropriate. That's my feeling. I've done it since day one.
Or they can pay themselves.
I mean, you can write a check to them and everything's fine. To take tax money and donate it to a 5013C is not right.
What else you got?
All right,
Your opinion.
in my opinion, I said this is per
You
day.
didn't say it at last stage.
Oh,
Chairman of the board.
oh, Dennis.
I'll second it.
Settle down, Sadie. All right, Ellie's got her hand up, Sadie. You just cut her feet right off from under her. Who's not gonna be here tomorrow?
Dennis already went next.
Dennis, and I think Cindy is going to be here. She indicated she would try.
Yes, she's gonna try to be here. I spoke
Yeah,
to her.
so I think we're all right for tomorrow night.
We need the, who's reading what, sent out again for the meeting first.
All right, Ellie,
With, along with a copy of the budget.
Yes.
can you,
Copy the budget.
would you send out? I know you
Copy of the
can.
budget, to everybody. else.
Would you send out
We
the,
gotta read the dollar.
what everybody's doing at the public hearing tomorrow night? My computer's been messed up with Xfinity and Comcast so bad that I'm spitting bullets.
You did it. But aren't you the secretary? Aren't you the secretary, Ellen? Your phone.
Yeah, just to refresh everybody's memory,
I'll send it to you.
and we need a copy of the budget. Ned?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Would you do that by morning, sometime in the morning?
Sure.
So people can have a chance to look at it?
Would people prefer,
Two separate meetings?
Yeah.
All right,
would people prefer the budget is like a printout of PDF or the spreadsheet, so they can. Fiddle with it.
Whichever. I think they're gonna be before us.
oh, yeah, they
It's
are.
available here,
And
yes.
then we'll,
But this is emailed like.
Oh, so they're having their regular.
well, I don't know as I call it. We'll have a
Special meeting.
A special.
Not to, we should be changing it. So
All right, we're gonna do a motion to adjourn in a second.
we have to do the.
Yes, Monica.
No, that's just select board.
No, we were kicked out of the high school.
It just, actually, we were kicked.
At the elementary, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's at the gym at the elementary as of right now.
We used it once.
I know.
And we paid for it for 25 years.
Well, we will,
And they
it
told us-
needs some more work. Please be patient. Right? Yeah, but we're, it's still February 4th, and it's still be 1 P.M.
Yeah, I didn't go last year, so I was on my four-wheeler yesterday for 2, and then it was useless, so I can stop.
Oh,
Yeah, well, we were in Canaan in the elementary school.
but yeah, it's.
All right, so is this one of these
It's gonna take a
things
little
that they're just gonna put on every year until people get tired of seeing it? But yeah, didn't it fail last year?
The solution is not completely straightforward.
As I said, it's my opinion, and I spoke against it.